things things you can learn without actually knowing them. Medyo mabagal. Well, basically, let me define what's a game first. Basically, a game is a scenario or an event where there are rules as well as a winning condition and a losing condition. Get? Get nyo naman? So, it doesn't necessarily mean that what a game that is traditionally defined as a game is the only medium by which you can learn. Recently, there has been a lot of research delved in what is called as gamification. And a lot of that research is directed towards gamifying education. Some of it is using some frameworks that allow teachers to give initial or quick feedback to students while letting the students learn faster and much more in a way they can enjoy it more. Has anybody heard of the grade school somewhere in the US that implemented a quest system for grade 6 students? Basically, they use RPG quest system to teach math to his students. One way he did this was that he gave out, instead of the usual tests, he gave out quests that the students needed to choose from. It was not mandatory. So they choose what they wanted to take in a way how they wanted to undertake it. More choices make it easier for people to learn. Because the more ways you can learn, the more ways you can do something, the easier it is for you to be at ease at what you do. Is that a similar experience to what you've experienced? Is it easier for you to learn if I give you the choice of what to learn or how to learn it? Well, there are other things that we can actually take from this is that everything in a game has always a purpose. Coming from a game design perspective, a game is usually done in a way that you would have to think if this action would be the best action or another action would be better. If you're meant to think, then that will increase your engagement to a certain level. Well, let me give a better example. If I gave you an assignment, for example, read chapter 1 of some book and some whatnot, that won't have too much meaning to you. And that won't have too much meaning to me if I don't actually test you on it, correct? I would never know if you actually read it. But in a game, I can easily test anything I want because the parameters are predefined by me as a designer, and it already corrects your mistakes as you play it, correct? Because it outputs a certain reaction to all your actions. This okay? Anybody getting the gist of this? Well, I think let me just sidetrack a bit. There are 3 methods by which you learn. Everybody in the whole world learns. One is by reading, one is by listening, and the third is by doing. Which of these 3 can be more than likely two of these: reading and listening. That's why online learning sites can't actually replace schools, because it only targets 2/3 of the learning populace. While which of these three can be targeted by your school? Now, technically all, it depends on what the school, how the school teaches it, and how good your teacher is in that particular subject matter. So one of the few things that's interesting about game-based learning is what's called as game progression. Have you ever... Kaya, medyo matanda kasi ito. Gusto ko lang malaman. Ano yung pinakamatandang game na alam niyo? Mario? Oka? Pac-Man? Okay. So may nakaalam na Pac-Man. Okay, hindi pa ako matanda. So sa Pac-Man, ano sa tingin niyo pwede nyo matutulog na? The later parts of the game. For example, faster ghosts, shorter power-up times. I think the old one also introduced a key when you can actually enter the ghosts there. But these factors are introduced in a way that the player can easily learn them step by step through the levels. Making, for example, if you play level 1, it's not as hard as just to go to level 2. But because you played level 1, you already have a certain amount of skill to actually proceed to level 2. Right? Does this make sense? So one of the things that about how we learn is that we also learn through a certain procedure. First, we are introduced to something. This is normally done in a lesson by giving you a book to read or an assignment, correct? In a game, this is introduced through a mechanic. A mechanic is a rule or something that a player can do. Then the next is to be tested on the mechanic, to just show that you know it. A simple test, for example, if I teach you 1 + 1 = 2, then I'll ask you 2 + 1. That's a normal test. But after that, the next progression becomes a bit harder. It is to test if you have mastered what you have learned. In a sense, this is what we call your final exam. That is what is the purpose of the final exam. But most of the time it does not suit that purpose because there is not enough challenge. Second, it might be too challenging. It's contradicting, right? Then there's also the fact that it's not relevant to the student. Does this hit anything? For example, if I give you a test, we'll be using what you learned from the test after the test. More than likely, no. The good thing about games is that if I give you this test of mastery, you will probably be using this skill in the next level. And the good thing about games is what's called as game balancing. Difficulty versus reward. So the tendency is to balance it so that it's not too hard, that it's impossible and frustrating, but it's not too easy, that the person will not be challenged, that he will be able to learn the specific thing that is being taught. Another thing about learning that is also gotten from this is that we learn with better when there is an impact on ourselves, on our lives. But there is also a balance between breadth and impact. The easier something is to understand, the less impact it has on you. Do you remember how many doors you opened in your entire life? Exactly. People are laughing, but that's exactly what it means. Breath. It's so easy that you don't even remember anymore. But how many of you remember what's the hardest algorithm you've solved? What's the hardest problem you've solved and were satisfied with in your solution? Baka wala kang ganun kahirap or ganun ka-satisfying na problem. Any problem in your life, actually, I don't need to say that it's an algorithm or anything, but anything that has an impact on you will always be there and will be part of your life. The same thing with games and learning. If it's too easy, but then it becomes mechanical. But if it has meaning, if you enjoy the game, then it will be with you for a while. And there's what is called a eureka moment. A lot of people have played games in their lives, but have never realized they learned something from it. For example, I just asked, what can you learn from Pac-Man? Alright? One of the new things you can learn from Pac-Man is that you can actually plan how you go around the maze to actually avoid the ghosts. The ghosts have a certain pattern to them. You could also look at pattern recognition through Pac-Man. You could learn how the ghosts actually move. This didn't occur to you unless I told you so, correct? But now that I told you so, doesn't that give you sort of an aha moment, a eureka moment that you can see what I'm talking about? So a lot of the research in game-based learning is saying that people can use certain games to actually teach certain stuff. For example, StarCraft is being used in the University of Florida to teach business economics. Portal is being used in the greater United States in high school and elementary schools to teach physics and math. There's also a move towards other things, like using Angry Birds to teach kids the relevance of physics. Yes, I know, it sounds silly, but if you actually tell a kid, if a kid plays Angry Birds, then you told them that this is how projector is calculated, this is how that works, this is how gravity works. Wouldn't the kid have that realization, that aha moment, that would help them learn, that would pique their interest? Another thing we always take for granted are the simple things in life. Has anybody played any card game? Okay. A deck of cards has 13 numbers. 4 suits, probability. A lot of poker players actually do this. When you watch TV, when you see a poker game, you see odds when there are numbers. When they have cards there, you see odds of the cards' chances of winning. Correct? Has anybody watched the poker game? This is based on the probable number of cards in the deck. Because there are 4 suits and there are 13 numbered cards. So you can easily compute the value of a winning hand based on the revealed cards from each player as well as the handler's hand. But that's pretty much too much math. Also, it has. Do you know a game called Tetris? Do you know that it was used to actually teach the Russian military abstract thinking and tactics? That was the original use for Tetris. Shocking? One of the things that you should also learn from this talk is that learning is not constrained in games or in school. Learning can be everywhere around you. From your fellow students, from your teachers, from the people talking on the stage, even from the environment around you. It's just a matter of looking. It's just a matter of wanting to learn, want to understand. Let's have a little game. One tahimik. How many of you think that you've learned enough in college to survive the real world? Okay, sorry. Yeah, 1 minute na lang. So, malamang question and answer na lang. Kung may questions, anything, maski related sa talk, if you want to ask questions about game development or whatnot, I have about 9 years experience as a game designer. So I could answer any questions pertaining to game development. No questions? Wala kayo? Last chance. Da?
Akala isusunod. May tanong yan.
I'm Hiro from Business for One. My question is, are game glitches is included in the game or just programmers having fun in the program?
It really glitches, right? It really depends. Glitches can happen intentionally or they can happen unintentionally. Anybody, have you heard of a game called Street Fighter? Do you know that the combo system for Street Fighter is actually a glitch? It was an unintended code that actually made it to the game, but it was so good that it eventually became a feature. Sometimes glitches can be a good thing, sometimes they can be a bad thing. They can be a result of error, poor planning, or they can maybe be just things that happen because a lot of us, let's admit it, a lot of you coders code at night because you're not learned out. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Ano na? Name mo na.
Before we go, I'm Anthony from Business 3. Thank you. Sir, what do you think about the future of gaming in the Philippines?
Gaming in what sense?
Developing. As in, may mapapasigat na tayo na developed by
So this is game development in the sense of developing an IP, intellectual property. Well, the thing about intellectual property is that it's very challenging. One of the reasons why we don't really have any intellectual property that actually makes it out in the market is one, a lot of people don't like taking risks. It's easier to be an outsourcing shop and gain revenue with every job than actually making a game by yourself and marketing it to the public when there's a lot of competition. I know this is a very vague answer, but the future cannot be set in stone. But at least know this, that for every one successful game, there are 10 that fail. This is not just the Philippines, it's all over the world. The number for that is actually increasing. For every 20 can actually fail. Because so many people are doing games. Think about how many games there are in the App Store. Almost 50% of all applications in the App Store are games. So the competition is very high. But it's not saying that the Filipino can compete. It's just saying that the reason why there's no intellectual property that shines for the Philippines is that nobody's trying. To point some counterpoints, there's one now that has some decent traction from Eric Reanas, Squid Mobile, Street Food Tycoon. They have around 4 million users using it. So it's not really possible. But one of the things is you might want to target your market, know who you want to sell it to, know how to market your product to them, so that it will be easier to actually make a hit. You might not succeed the first time, but always incorporate metrics to your game so that you learn from what your game actually does. So you gain more experience and you gain more chance of success with every game you make. Does that make more sense? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Why not?